The video's stated goal is to explain the Trump world order, which is framed as a deliberate strategic response to a collapsing global system. It's a long, dense piece of argumentation, and we need to track its structure carefully. The video begins by stitching together recent political speeches, using them to establish a premise. Donald Trump is escalating the war in Iran while simultaneously picking fights across North America. The creator immediately frames this as seeming chaotic and idiotic, a common public perception he is about to challenge. He introduces what I'll call the idiot-to-genius pivot. This is a classic rhetorical setup. First, you list all the reasons why an action appears foolish, thereby aligning with the viewer's initial skepticism. Then, you pivot. But what if the idiocy is actually brilliance? This creates a compelling narrative arc, from confusion to revelation. It's intellectually seductive. He supports the idiot premise with terrain analysis of Iran, citing the Zagros mountains and deserts as reasons a ground invasion would fail. He then cites what he calls predictive behavioral indicators, Pentagon pizza deliveries, empty DC gay bars, and prediction market bets. This is fascinating. It mixes hard geography with speculative, almost folkloric signals of state activity. The pizza index is a meme, not a reliable metric, but presenting it alongside a poly-market bet of $200,000 gives the entire package a veneer of insider knowledge. He's blending different tiers of evidence into a single, urgent conclusion. An invasion is imminent. Now, the pivot. He asks, what if Trump wants to lose this war? What if he wants to collapse the American empire? Then, he'd be a genius. This is the core speculative leap. The entire subsequent analysis rests on accepting this counter-intentional premise, that the apparent failure is a designed feature. From here, the argument expands into resource maps: oil, fertilizers, water. The claim is that by collapsing Middle Eastern supply, Trump forces Europe and East Asia into dependency on North America and Russia. This in turn secures demand for U.S. debt, solving the problem of the $39 trillion deficit. The American empire dies, but a fortress America, a technate, rises from its ashes. This is where we must separate the insightful pattern from the speculative overreach. The geographical analysis of resource dependencies is not wrong. A prolonged closure of the Strait of Hormuz would catastrophically rewire global supply chains. The observation that the US and Russia are relatively resource-rich and self-sufficient in food, water, and energy is a valid, long-standing geopolitical datum. The video usefully visualizes these asymmetries. The problem is the attribution of a grand, unified agency. The theory requires us to believe that the chaotic, publicly documented infighting of the Trump administration, its frequent policy reversals, and its diplomatic spats are all a calculated performance to achieve this technate. It grafts a monolithic, long-term Duginist strategy onto the famously improvisational and personality-driven Trump political operation. The creator even acknowledges this dissonance, repeatedly stating, "I understand Trump is an idiot," before asking us to ignore that understanding in favor of the grand theory. He then bolsters his case by presenting Russia's war in Ukraine not as a regional land grab or a response to NATO, but as a deliberate, slow-motion program of economic militarization designed to create Fortress Russia, inspired by Alexander Dugin's Foundations of Geopolitics. This is a cleaner fit. Dugin's writings do provide an ideological blueprint for such a fortress mentality. Using it as a lens for Russian actions is more coherent than applying it to Trump's America. The creator is on firmer ground here, using one case to lend credence to the other by analogy. He's saying, look, this is a recognizable playbook. Now America is copying it. The conclusion contrasts the New World Order of George H.W. Bush, globalization, finance, secular multiculturalism, with the Trump world order, resource nationalism, Christian nationalism, and Fortress America. This is a stark and largely accurate depiction of the ideological clash that has defined much of the past decade of American politics. The video's power lies in taking current, raw events, speeches, troop movements, market bets, and projecting them onto this vast historical canvas. Ultimately, the video is a masterclass in narrative construction. It takes discontinuous, alarming news fragments and weaves them into a story that is both terrifying and intellectually satisfying. It provides an answer, a plan, a reason behind the chaos. Whether that plan exists in the mind of Donald Trump or any single actor is of course the great unverifiable leap. The creator asks us to trade the anxiety of apparent idiocy for the chilling clarity of calculated collapse. It's a compelling trade. Many will make it. The summary then. A brilliantly structured piece of speculative geopolitics that excels at identifying systemic vulnerabilities and weaving current events into a grand historical narrative. Its primary weakness is the enormous burden of conscious agency it places on actors who consistently demonstrate short-term, reactive decision-making. It replaces the messiness of reality with the clean lines of a game-theoretic board. A move that is always persuasive and only sometimes true. Okay, count. 23. A new record. The word has fully transitioned from conversational filler to a tonal punctuator, a verbal semicolon signaling each step in a complex proof.